Hey guys, so as I mentioned in my last video and why you haven't heard from me for about a week, and it isn't just some other personal shit, I have a cold and I sound like hot trash. And I've had this cold on and off for several days now, but it's been a while, so I figure, what the hell, let's just make a video anyway, and you guys can listen to my absolutely terrible congested voice. Have fun, friends! So, I wrote the bulk of this video a couple days ago, but I think it is still relevant, and I wanted to use this video to sort of be my capstone of my assessment of Trump's first 100 days in office, some of the issues I'm currently facing regarding the administration, some of my concerns, and some of my hopes and fears. This will actually be a short video for once, or relatively short as far as I'm concerned, not just because I sound like hot shit, but because it's so much to talk about. I just want to skim over a couple things and to give you guys sort of my current take on the Trump administration since I've been so supportive of him since the beginning. So moving on. The other day, Trump said in an interview with the Wall Street Journal, yes, that's right, our old pal, that he was both a nationalist and a globalist. Okay. Let's talk about that for a second because I've been very vocal about my support for Donald Trump since the beginning of this channel. And when he goes out and says something that I disagree with, you can pretty much always be sure that I will be the first, well, considering the timeliness, maybe not the first, but hey, I will always be out there to criticize it, provided I have the time, basically. I do a lot of memeing on this channel, but let me be clear. I supported Trump because I believed in a lot of the things he said, while being cautious and wanting to wait and see the results of his actual inevitable actions as President of the United States. As with any politician, I honestly don't believe that anyone should have dogmatic support in them, but rather to take up a more critical stance regarding the officials that we help to elect. So today, yes, I'm going to cover some of my opinions on this particular statement and some other recent events that have made me become, a little bit skeptical of Trump. So, Trump says here he's a globalist. Whew, lads, that's a huge red flag. I'm not really sure what Trump meant by this, and that's part of the reason, for once when I say this is a short video, it really will be, because I'm just too confused by this statement to really make any sense of it. But, I do want to talk a little bit about Trump, nationalism, globalism, and some of my issues regarding his administration so far that give me pause to be, a little concerned about this quote, beyond just cracking it all up to be a misquote or a misuse of the term on Trump's part. Let me first explain why the use of the term globalism is frustrating to me, at least for me, and for many people who voted for Trump. One major thing that we wanted from our future president was more isolationist policies, for America to stop freaking playing world police. Now, while I was initially upset about the recent bombing in Syria, merely because I really do not want to go to war with Russia. If I wanted to go to war with Russia, I would have voted for Hillary Clinton. Well, no, I wouldn't. Not in a million goddamn years. I could also see the arguments being made that Trump's actions were a mere shaking of his scepter to indicate to the world that they are no longer dealing with Obama. They were dealing with someone actually willing to take military action and not just drone strikes. No, this was further supported by his order to bomb ISIS in Afghanistan, which honestly does at least fall in line with part of his campaign promises to help take down ISIS with the aid of Russia, I should remind you. Now, of course, it looks like there is at least a possibility for Trump to end up in some real deep shit over that particular action because it was done without the support of Congress. So, man, how freaking poetic would it be for the globalist warmongers to find some way to impeach Trump for engaging in acts of globalist warmongering? Oh, shoot me. Alright, moving on. A lot of Trump supporters, and I know I use the royal we a bit too much when I talk about Trump sometimes, when I talked about him dropping bombs. I know I do that, and I apologize for that because I do realize that there are a lot of Trump supporters who disagree with me. But I am an isolationist. I have always been an isolationist. I mean, in 2008, I was all on board the Ron Paul Express, primarily because I've always wanted America to pull its dick out from where it does not belong. And that is at least, in part, where the power of the phrase America First comes from. We have been meddling in international politics for far too long, and Americans themselves have struggled while she looks away to foreign lands over globalist politics. Trump was so bent on this America First narrative. It's why many of us voted for him. So for him to now claim he's a globalist? Well, that's disconcerting to say the least. So I'm going to go over some of his administration's recent behavior, which includes some of the precise things that are concerning for me beyond just that quote itself.
The Secretary General and I had a productive discussion about what more NATO can do in the fight against terrorism. I complained about that a long time ago, and they made a change. and now they do fight terrorism. I said it was obsolete. It's no longer obsolete.
Alright, so this is a big one for me. Trump has walked back on his position regarding NATO. Again, this is kind of an opinion video, more than many I do, where I kind of just try to do social science or I try to make a lot of jokes. So, of course, as an opinion, feel very free to disagree with me. These are opinions, these are not facts. But here is a fact. The United States spends more on its military than every other country in the world combined. But think about the last time you talked to a serviceman or woman. They are so frequently stationed in NATO bases across the world, not in the United States. They're stationed in places like Germany and Japan, where we are doing nothing, in my opinion, beyond wasting US resources, both personnel resources and financial resources. I'm not inherently against military spending, but I don't understand our preoccupation and our depth of involvement with NATO, which is supposed to be, an international organization when we are the ones footing pretty much the entire bill. So, if you can't tell, I'm not a huge fan of NATO, and as far as I could tell, Trump wasn't either, until April 12th, where he spoke quite negatively of NATO.
When I talk about NATO, we're talking about tremendous amounts of money that we put in. Now we're defending countries, and we're not getting reimbursed anywhere near the cost of doing it. Now, that might have been okay 30 years ago when we were different, and it might have been okay 25 years ago and 40 years ago, and it might have been, but you know what? It's not okay anymore, folks. We can't do it. We can't do it.
Now he seemingly has switched to really only asking for members to pay their fees. NATO, in my opinion, is another one of these globalist-oriented organizations that a lot of people thought Trump would do something about. So yes, it is a little bit of a disappointment. Again, I'm not sure exactly what's going on. I don't know if Trump just wants other nations to pay their fair share, or if, as he seems to imply in this article, that he does think NATO is of value. If I am incorrect, I thought in the campaign trail, he seemed pretty scathing of NATO, that he thought it was more or less obsolete. Let's see, what else? Trump has flip-flopped on calling China currency manipulators. I don't have a strong opinion on this particularly. I've broken down Trump's infamous "the Chinese created global warming" tweet because I think what he was saying is that the global warming panic and subsequent environmental regulations thrust upon first world countries gives a distinct economic advantage to the Chinese industries beholden to no environmental standards comparatively. China doesn't play by the same rules as the United States in terms of industry. However, I will defend Trump here a little bit on backing up on his "China are not currency manipulators" stand. It's the art of the deal, is it not? When he's campaigning, he needs to say some harsh things. Then, when he's the leader of the free world, he needs to sometimes take a step back and deal with international business on, just a slightly more delicate level. Got me? So, in addition to the attack on Syria, which again at this point I think I can understand as a mere power play, as was the bombing of ISIS, there are some reasons to be concerned about Trump moving towards globalism. And let me be clear, during the campaign, these were Trump's exact words regarding globalism. Let's listen.
Americans must know that we're putting the American people first again. On trade. So true. On trade. On immigration, on foreign policy, the jobs, incomes, and security of the American worker will always be my first priority. No country has ever prospered that failed to put its own interests first.
So, now for him to come out and say he's both a nationalist and a globalist, it's quite odd. Not only because, outside of, imperialism? Nationalism and globalism are mutually exclusive political ideologies. I would have said this was just a slip-up on Trump's part. We know he's not the most eloquent person. He makes mistakes actually quite frequently during his speeches. But he has neither castigated the Wall Street Journal for inaccurately reporting this statement, nor has he made any additional statement correcting himself. Maybe you could say Trump just doesn't quite understand what globalism means. Well, not the most positive theory, but I guess I could entertain it as a possibility. Had we not just watched the clip I played above, about his precise stance on globalism. Yeah, I think he knows what globalism is. The next and most positive option, I guess what he meant by this, positive for Trump supporters, is that this is just another case of Trump supposedly playing some kind of 4D chess, a tesseract ahead of his detractors, but I don't know if I buy that either. It would be maybe what Cernovich calls Trump's A-B testing theory of political messages. Basically, he throws out two things and sees what tests the best. But knowing who got him elected, and knowing all of his anti-globalist policies that he threw out while on the campaign trail, such a statement seems to have no possible positive reaction, because globalists rarely ever admit even to being globalists. And then there's the least positive scenario, the worst case scenario, and that is that Trump truly is being co-opted by the likes of Ivanka and her cuck husband, Paul Ryan, and other neocon cuck-servatives, who again, many of us supporting Trump despise. I'm not going to make any definitive statements about what Trump meant by this nationalist globalist quote because, as I've said, I don't freaking understand it. I just thought I'd give you folks a lovely little update and my take on the subject because it's one that I'm at least interested in as a Trump voter, and all Trump voters should be interested in. Of the other major things that we should, of course, be currently aware of regarding the administration are, for me at least, what the fresh hell is happening with Assange? Is he going to be arrested? What? And the initial passing of Trump Care that just happened the other day through the House. I'm not happy with Trump Care either, guys. I don't like it in its current state based on what I've been able to read. But by the way, yeah, they haven't released the document. But as part of that, it's certainly not worth the vitriol it is receiving from the left and the legacy media, acting like this is going to destroy healthcare and make everyone with a pre-existing condition suddenly, I don't know, die for no other reason than the fact that it has yet to go through the Senate, and as such, it means, precisely diddly squat. I mean, maybe this is just the digital age of constant 24-hour news cycles, of people being much more well aware of what's happening in the United States government than they were, 10, 15, 20 years ago, that they see something like this and they get all riled up. Oh, Trump's gonna ruin healthcare. If you have a pre-existing condition, no, you won't ever be able to get healthcare. That's absurd. Maybe though, that is what's upsetting people. It's just because they're getting much more information at a much more rapid pace. But let me explain. Right now, this means nothing. We don't even know what this bill looks like. It has so many more evolutions to go through before it even starts to get close to being a thing that will affect anyone's lives. Secondly, let me explain that before Obamacare, you could be turned down for having a pre-existing condition. From what I understand of the current Trump Care, whatever the hell you want to call it, bill, you cannot be turned down if you have a pre-existing condition. Your rates will be higher, but as a libertarian-leaning person, as a ANCAP type person, doesn't that make sense? I'm sorry, and I would be someone going into this with pre-existing conditions. If you are an incredibly healthy person, I don't think you should have to buy health insurance if you don't want it, first of all. So that's, of course, what the left says is, 20 million people will be losing their health insurance because Obamacare got 20 million people insurance. Yeah, how many of those people got insurance because they didn't want to pay the $1,000, $2,000 fines that you were going to charge them because you made it illegal to not have insurance? Oh, bummer. But the point is this. You cannot be denied healthcare if you have a pre-existing condition under this current bill, which, as I said, is entirely mutable. It could change 100 times over before it has anything to do with affecting your lives. So when I see people losing their minds, like, oh my God, this is gonna destroy my lives, my family's lives. Stop, calm yourself down. Get yourself, I don't know, a latte, whatever liberals drink. Calm the fuck down, chill out. It's gonna be okay. I'm not happy with this bill, and it from what I've currently seen of it, but it is not something to lose your mind about. Not yet. Chill out. Secondly, regarding Assange, yeah, I want him to be left the fuck alone. He can live the rest of his life in the Ecuadorian embassy in London for all I care. Frankly, I'd like Trump to just pardon him. But whatever, I can't even find definitive information that shows that the government's even going to go after Assange. That's a very convoluted sort of topic that, again, there's too little information about for me to really talk about at length because, yeah, there's just not enough information. But with all of this that I've just mentioned taken into consideration, I have to say, I'm still okay with Trump at this point. I feel like some people expect me to be a sort of cheerleader for him, because I certainly was on the campaign trail, without understanding that the person who potentially has the most to lose by a failure of the government I voted for is, me, the one who was vehemently on the Trump train. I feel like Trump is in a very difficult position where he is surrounded on all sides by opposition and bids to control him, both from within and without the Republican Party. And also I think we get this kind of anticipation that for some reason he's going to be able to do everything he promised immediately. But he doesn't have that power. As much power as we seem to give the president in terms of our perceptions of the United States president, they're not God. They can't do absolutely everything. This shit takes time. And I'm not trying to make excuses. Trust me, I'm certainly not, because I'm putting a microscope on Trump because I voted for him. But it does take time, and it's probably not going to be absolutely everything we wanted. Like some of the new pictures that have come out about what the wall might look like. Oh, it's not 100 feet high. Well, that would have been absurd. That was never going to happen. It was about border security. It wasn't about having a 150-foot high wall with a monorail running on it. No, that wasn't what any sane person was thinking the wall was going to be like. Anyway, my point is this. Trump's not perfect. If you thought he was going to be perfect, you were lying to yourself. I supported the hell out of him. That's also why I need to be the one critiquing him. Because the left is just gonna slander him the entire fucking time. So the only people who can actually look at this shit objectively are those of us who have the most invested in it. Trump supporters, we need to be doing this. We need to be looking at him, but not at the same time overanalyzing and being overly critical or having too high, too fast of expectations. Let's just try to maintain our ground of rationality and reasonability, shall we? But as such, in conclusion, I'm going to give you guys my general assessment, as of this recording, of Trump's first 100 days. And it's somewhere between a C+ and a B-. But hey, that could easily change for the positive or for the worst. Since there's been a dearth of videos on my part for the last week, again, I do apologize. This is just a quickie. Oh shit, it's getting close to over 15 minutes. I just wanted to give you guys my personal opinions on Trump as of this time. No joke, I'm not lying. I know I always say shit like this, but I do have 2 entire videos already written. Well, one might not be timely enough by the time I'm no longer sick to make it actually sound good. And I have 3 really good long video ideas that I've gathered lots of sources for, so they basically just have to be written. In addition to me definitely going to get around to talking about Bill Nye's Fat Acceptance episode, and also potentially his one about population control, which is a fucking doozy. So please, friends, sit tight. I swear things should be back to a less turbulent schedule very soon. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. I'm Aiden Paladin, Altana Volt.